Hi, my name is Michelle Kennedy, and this is Real Quick, a small podcast featuring an essay every day. Today we are talking about a topic that is super uncomfortable for me to talk about. We are talking about my miscarriage that I had in an RV about 10 years ago. It was a miscarriage I encouraged because I wasn't supposed to be pregnant again. And birth control and sex and a lot of those things were super difficult between me and my husband at that time. There was a lot of control issues. There was some other unpleasantness. So without getting into too many of the gory details, I did become pregnant again when I should not have. And that was really dangerous for me at that time. So this is kind of the story of the day that I miscarried and was living in this RV in the middle of Northern California with kids and feeling really alone and feeling just really like I had no control over anything that was happening, I think, in my life at that time. And so this is just kind of one of those stories that shows where a person was. It's not about pro-abortion, pro-life, pro-choice, pro-anything. It's really more about everyone's story is so unique. And this is true when you're talking about homelessness or poverty or drug abuse or addictions of any sort, I guess. It's really important to always respect that everyone's story is unique. And some of us feel compelled to tell those stories. Some people feel compelled to hide them. This particular essay is one I've written about before. I've discussed before, but still feel a little bit of shame about. I still get nervous publishing something like this because I don't know. I love my children. I am a mother who loves her children. And every time I've been pregnant, I've been a happy person. Except this time that I write about today or read the essay, was a scary, scary time for me. Things were very precarious. And it absolutely put me into the place where I knew then what it felt like to have this pregnancy. And there was literally no way that even if I did have this baby that I could have, I don't know. That was a really scary time in our lives. And I'm pretty sure I would have died after it. I almost died during this part. So anyway, judge not, lest ye be judged, right? Is that not the saying from the Bible? So judge me, don't judge me, contribute. Let me know what you think. Say mean, hateful things if you must. But this is my story of inducing my own miscarriage well before, 6 weeks or any of those time periods, but still at a time when that was very, very painful and almost resulted in all of my children being without a mother. So enjoy today's piece. If you feel like it, please look back at some of the other episodes we've done. This is episode 14. Please feel free to contribute a piece. If you're a writer or a comic or whatever, and you have some fun stuff to share and you want to read your work out loud and get that feedback and have that experience, please let us know. My email is writermisha1313@gmail.com. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you tomorrow. I woke up sweating. Overly hot, like panicked hot, desperately trying to take the blankets off me, but tangling myself back in them until I sat up and got mad and threw them off. It was only then that I realized I was bleeding. A lot. I was miscarrying, and I knew it. I knew it because I needed it to happen, had indeed caused it to happen, and was terrified of what was going to happen next. I jumped out of my bed and landed practically in the bathroom, bleeding murderously. We were in our RV in Fort Bragg, Northern California, in the middle of a really shitty RV park that we couldn't seem to get out of. And my husband had just taken our 17-year-old Liam to work at McDonald's. So I was alone with the kids. We were at the tail end of a 2-year-long adventure where we had traveled first in a bus, then in an RV, from Alaska, through the Yukon Territory, British Columbia, Washington, Oregon, California, with some side trips thrown in. It was an epic adventure, but now, here, at both the end of the trip, or the lifestyle, and what was quickly becoming the end of a 20-plus-year marriage, I found myself bleeding, almost to death, inside of this shitty RV. At first, I wasn't sure what was happening. I hadn't taken a pregnancy test, and I was very early into what I assumed was a pregnancy. I'm fairly experienced at the pregnancy thing. I've had 8 children. Yes, they're all mine. And until that point, I had had 3 miscarriages. Now here I was, 43, in a shitty RV, stuck. The RV was broken down, and my now ex-husband refused to have it fixed, in an even shittier RV park. And I was pregnant again. The reasons I was pregnant again are both easy to explain and hard to understand. At least for me. I shouldn't have been pregnant. I almost died the last time. My 8th pregnancy at the age of 40 was the toughest I had had. Placenta accreta almost killed me right after Annie was delivered. And my doctor, a truly wonderful human who was the only male birth attendant I ever had and was kind, considerate, and very amenable to listening to the expertise of a mother of 8, whether he wanted to or not, saved me. He told my then husband, in no uncertain terms, that I was not to ever be pregnant again. Now, while I appreciate you think I should have gotten my tubes tied, I did too, or I should have been on birth control, I was, or that my ex should have gotten a vasectomy, I begged. He outright refused. Or know that I worked very hard to not become pregnant during my marriage, more than once. It was not always my choice. I had a very tumultuous marriage and an increasingly aggressive husband, and I did not always get to choose when we had sex or whether or not I got pregnant. That being said, this baby terrified me. Not the baby. I love babies. Pregnancy terrified me, especially as it was, again, the result of an event that was not my choice. And I knew that I am deeply scarred inside. I also knew that if I was able to keep the pregnancy, the baby and I may not survive the 3rd trimester. I also have a history of preeclampsia, another life-threatening pregnancy-related condition, and I did not want to leave 5 children in an RV with that man. I sat back down on my bed after bolting to the bathroom and put a towel underneath me. I couldn't text anyone because my phone didn't have service anymore. My husband was only working occasionally at this time, and we were pretty broke. I could, however, still dial 911, which I did, and then I passed out on the bed. When I woke up, startled, and realizing that I had passed out, I wondered why no one had answered the phone. I felt cold and shaky and looked at the phone to realize I hadn't pressed send. Then I threw up on the floor in front of me. I pressed send and suddenly felt a lot better, even though blood was literally pouring out of me. The kind woman on the other end of the phone talked to me while I sent 10-year-old Jack outside to direct the ambulance to the right RV. I knew I was going to die. My new 911 friend helped me scoot myself to the edge of the stairs of the RV, and I waited, with my kids on the couch behind me. At the same time the ambulance arrived, my ex arrived, and I was quickly taken to the hospital. One look at me bleeding out from under the blanket, and suddenly everyone became very, very friendly to me, which really did scare the hell out of me. I had never been in an ambulance before, much less as a patient. It was bumpy, but I wasn't in a tremendous amount of pain, so it was just a long, scary ride with me looking out the window, wondering if this was indeed it. I am pretty chatty anyway, but particularly so when I am nervous and terrified. So I chatted away and was my uber-friendly medical patient self while I was prepped quickly for surgery once I arrived at the hospital. And I was still alone. In fact, I knew my husband likely wouldn't come to the hospital at all unless called. There was no way he would bring the kids unless he absolutely had to. As they put me under and had me count, I had a moment of panic. First, I had never had surgery of any sort before and had never had anesthesia. As the mask went over my face, I remember trying to keep my eyes open while I thought, wow, this is it. I hope the kids are okay. I hope they know I love them. But I did not expect to wake up. I did. I did wake up, and no one was shocked more than I was. I woke up just like it was any other day, and I was fine. Fine, alive. And I knew at that moment I would never again let my ex touch me without my consent again, and I prayed hard that I would never again have to miscarry. I didn't have an abortion, but I did encourage myself to miscarry by taking vitamin C so that I could encourage the pregnancy to not stay implanted. I encouraged a miscarriage. What I didn't know was that the mere act of the miscarriage would send my body into hemorrhage, hence why my ex was told to not ever impregnate me again.